The glass doors whispered open at 7:30 a.m. Victoria Chen's reflection passed through them like a ghost. 4 years. 4 years of marble floors and steel elevators and silence so loud it screamed. She moved through Ashford Enterprises the way smoke moves through a room, present but never acknowledged, useful but never seen. Her desk sat outside the largest office on the 20th floor. Beyond the windows, the city stretched out like a circuit board, all lights and noise and desperate motion. Inside, everything was cold, controlled, perfect. Dominic Ashford arrived at 8:15, phone pressed to his ear, eyes straight ahead. He walked past her without a word. He always did. Victoria had already prepared his morning briefing, reorganized his impossible schedule, and fixed the contractor crisis that would have cost him millions. She did this every day. He never noticed. By 10:30, the conference room filled with nervous energy. Department heads presented their reports like offerings to a god who might strike them down. Dominic sat at the head of the table, all sharp edges and colder eyes. Then someone noticed the error. Who prepared this? His voice was quiet, deadly. The department head pointed at Victoria. The assistant compiled it. 20 pairs of eyes turned toward her. The air went thin. Mr. Ashford, the figure came from finance. I flagged it in an email. I don't need excuses. I need competence. The words hit like ice water. Victoria nodded, swallowed her defense, absorbed the blame. She had learned this dance. Survival meant silence. After the meeting, a junior executive whispered, "Don't take it personally." But Victoria knew better. Dominic saved his cruelest cuts for those who couldn't cut back. That afternoon, everything changed. Cameron Hayes walked into the office like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Tall, warm-eyed, with a smile that didn't feel like a weapon. When he reached Victoria's desk, he stopped. Victoria Chen, the person who actually keeps this place running. His handshake was firm. His eyes met hers. I look forward to working with you. Something tells me you know where all the bodies are buried. It was such a small thing. Being seen, being acknowledged as human. For the first time in 4 years, Victoria felt her heart beat a little faster. The next morning, white roses sat on her desk. Simple, elegant, impossible. The card read, "Thank you for your help yesterday." It made all the difference. Cameron. Victoria's hands trembled as she touched the petals. Around her, whispers spread like wildfire. She had never received flowers. Not here, not anywhere. She was still staring at them when Dominic's door opened. He stopped. His eyes locked on the bouquet. Something dark flickered across his face. There and gone so fast she almost missed it. "When you're finished admiring your decorations," his voice cut through the air, "I need the Patterson contract in an hour." The warmth inside her chest froze solid. But as she worked, she felt his eyes on her through the glass walls. Watching, measuring, seeing her for the first time. And in that moment, Victoria realized something terrifying. Dominic Ashford had finally noticed she existed. Cameron appeared at her desk the next day with 2 coffees and a question that cracked something open inside her. "How long have you worked here?" 4 years. "And has anyone ever thanked you?" The silence between them was answer enough. "That's going to change," he said, his voice gentle but certain. "Starting now." Through the glass wall of his office, Dominic watched them. Watched Cameron make Victoria smile. Watched her shoulders relax, her guard drop, her face transform into something almost luminous. He couldn't remember ever making her smile. The realization hit him like a fist to the chest. Days blurred into weeks. Cameron brought her coffee every morning, asked her opinion on projects, treated her recommendations like they mattered because they did. They ate lunch together in the break room, talking about everything and nothing, building something that felt dangerously close to friendship. Victoria started arriving at work with light in her eyes, started speaking up in meetings, started remembering what it felt like to be human. But Dominic noticed everything now. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when concentrating, the efficiency of her movements, the quiet brilliance that had been running his empire while he treated her like furniture. He found himself inventing reasons to call her into his office. Found himself studying her face when she spoke. Found himself lying awake at night, thinking about white roses and the sound of her laugh. A sound he had never earned. One evening, Victoria stayed late finishing a report. The office was empty, except for the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant rumble of the city below. Dominic's door opened. "You're still here." Victoria looked up, startled. "Just finishing the Meridian proposal." He crossed to her desk, close enough that she could smell his cologne, expensive and cold. His eyes dropped to a framed photo she had recently placed there. Her and Cameron at a company lunch, both smiling. "Hayes seems quite taken with you." "He's kind. That's all." "Kind." Dominic repeated the word like it was foreign. "Is that what you want? Kindness?" Victoria met his eyes. "It's more than I had before." Something shifted in his expression. Pain, maybe, or rage. It was hard to tell with a man who had spent his life building walls. "I made you indispensable," he said, his voice low. "Everything you are here, everything you know, I gave you that." "You made me invisible," Victoria corrected, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "There's a difference." The air between them crackled with 4 years of unspoken words. "Victoria." The sound of her name in his mouth stopped her breath. He had never said it before. Not like this. Not like it mattered. "Mr. Ashford." "Dominic." His hand lifted, hesitated, fell back to his side. "When you're not here, I say your name. When you're here, I can barely look at you. Do you know why?" She couldn't speak. Couldn't move. "Because you terrify me." The confession fell between them like broken glass. "You see everything. You know everything. And you stay despite how I treat you. Why?" "I don't know anymore." He stepped closer. "Cameron Hayes is a good man. Better than me. I know. But you're still here. At 8 p.m. Working on my proposal." Victoria stood, gathering her things with shaking hands. "I should go. Stay. One word. A command and a plea." "Why?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Dominic's jaw clenched. "Because I'm asking. Because for once, I'm asking instead of demanding." Victoria looked at him, really looked at him, saw the cracks in his armor, the fear in his eyes. The same loneliness she had carried for 4 years reflected back at her. "Good night, Mr. Ashford." She walked to the elevator, pressed the button, waited. Behind her, his voice cut through the silence. "I'm selling the company." Victoria spun around. "What?" Dominic stood in the middle of the empty office, backlit by his own success. "The deal closes in 2 weeks. You'll be let go. Everyone will." "You're lying." "I never lie to you, Victoria. I just never told you the truth." The elevator dinged. The doors opened. "Cameron doesn't know," Dominic continued. "No one does. Except you. Now you have a choice." "What choice?" His eyes locked on hers across the distance between them. "Tell him and save his career, or keep my secret and stay by my side until the end." Victoria's world tilted sideways. "Why are you doing this?" Dominic smiled, and it was the saddest thing she had ever seen. "Because I need to know if you'll choose me when I have nothing left to offer." Victoria didn't sleep that night. She sat by her apartment window watching the city lights blur through tears she refused to let fall. Dominic's secret burned in her chest like swallowed fire. 2 weeks. Everyone would lose their jobs. Cameron would be blindsided. Cameron, who had shown her kindness when no one else did. Cameron, who treated her like she mattered. But Dominic had trusted her with the truth. Finally, devastatingly, he had let her in. The next morning, Cameron was waiting at her desk with coffee and that warm smile that made the world feel safe. "You look tired." "Everything okay?" Victoria took the cup. Her hands were steady, even though her heart was breaking. "Fine, just a long night." "Well, I have news that might wake you up." He leaned in, excited. "I've been offered a position at Meridian Corp, head of acquisitions. It's everything I've been working toward." Victoria's stomach dropped. "That's wonderful. There's more." His eyes sparkled. "They want you too, as my executive director. Same salary as Dominic pays you, but triple the respect. We'd be partners, Victoria. Equals." The coffee cup trembled in her hand. "When?" "They need an answer by Friday." He touched her shoulder gently. "Come with me. Leave this place. We both deserve better." Through the glass, Dominic watched them. His face was stone, but his hands were clenched white-knuckled on his desk. That afternoon, he called her into his office, Hayes is leaving. He told me. He wants to take you with him. Victoria met his eyes. Yes. Dominic stood, moved to the window, his back to her. Are you going? I don't know. Liar. He turned, and the look on his face made her chest ache. You've already decided. I can see it. Then why ask? Because I'm hoping I'm wrong. His voice cracked, just barely. I'm hoping that somewhere in the past 4 years, I gave you a reason to stay beyond the paycheck and the silence. Victoria's throat tightened. You want honesty? You've given me nothing but contempt. Cameron gave me flowers and coffee and basic human decency. You're asking why I'd choose him? I'm asking if you feel this. Dominic closed the distance between them in 3 strides. This thing that makes it hard to breathe when you're near me. This ache that lives in my chest where my heart used to be. I'm asking if I'm alone in this or if you feel it too. Victoria backed against the desk. You don't get to do this now. Not after everything. I know I don't deserve it. But tell me the truth. Just once. She looked up at him, at the raw need in his eyes, and something inside her shattered. I've felt it since day 1, she whispered. Every cruel word. Every time you looked through me like I was glass. I felt it all and stayed anyway like an idiot, hoping you'd see me. I see you now. Now? Victoria laughed, bitter and broken. Now when you're losing everything? That's convenient, Dominic. His hand lifted to her face, hesitated. May I? The question destroyed her. She nodded, barely. His fingers touched her cheek, gentle as a prayer. I don't know how to do this, how to be anything other than what I am. But I'm trying. For you, I'm trying. Victoria closed her eyes against the feeling. It's too late, is it? You're selling the company. You kept that from Cameron, asked me to keep it too. That's not trying, Dominic. That's manipulation. He dropped his hand like she had burned him. You think that's what this is? What else could it be? Dominic's face went hard. Get out. What? Get out of my office. Go to Cameron. Take the job. Live your nice, safe life with a nice, safe man who will never challenge you, never push you, never make you feel anything real. Victoria's hands shook with rage. You don't know what's real, don't I? He moved back to his desk, his armor sliding back into place. Real is this thing between us that we're both too afraid to name. Real is the fact that you hate me and want me in equal measure. Real is knowing that Cameron Hayes is everything you deserve and everything you don't actually want. You're wrong. Prove it. Take the job. Leave Friday. Forget I exist. Victoria headed for the door, then stopped. Her voice came out cold. I'll need a recommendation letter. Something died in Dominic's eyes. Of course. I'll have it ready by tomorrow. She left without looking back. But in the elevator, alone, Victoria finally let the tears fall, because he was right, about all of it, and that terrified her more than anything else ever had. That evening, Victoria met Cameron for dinner at a restaurant with soft lighting and softer music. He talked about their future, about the opportunities at Meridian, about partnership and respect, and everything she had ever wanted. And all she could think about was Dominic's hand on her cheek. Asking permission to touch her, Victoria? Cameron's voice broke through her thoughts. You haven't heard a word I said. I'm sorry. I'm just processing everything. He reached across the table, took her hand. I know this is sudden. Take the time you need, but I hope you'll say yes. I think we could be great together. Victoria looked at Cameron's kind eyes, his gentle smile, his uncomplicated goodness. He was everything Dominic wasn't, everything she should want. Can I ask you something? She said quietly. Why me? There are dozens of qualified people. Why did you choose me? Cameron's smile widened. Because you're brilliant. Because you see things others miss. And because Dominic Ashford is a fool for not recognizing that. Victoria pulled her hand back slowly. You want me because he didn't. That's not what I said. But it's what you meant. The pieces clicked into place, cold and terrible. This whole time, the flowers, the coffee, the friendship, it was about him, wasn't it? About beating him at something. Cameron's expression shifted. Victoria, come on. Tell me the truth. He sighed, ran a hand through his hair. Okay, yes. At first, maybe it was partly about Dominic. He's arrogant, treats people like tools. I wanted to show you that you deserved better, But along the way, I genuinely came to care about you. Victoria stood, her chair scraping loud against the floor. You used me to get to him. That's not fair, isn't it? Her voice shook. Did Meridian actually offer you a job, Cameron? Or is that a lie too? His silence was answer enough. Victoria grabbed her purse, her whole body trembling. Stay away from me. Victoria, wait. She didn't wait. She walked out into the cold night air, into the noise of the city, into the wreckage of every stupid choice she had ever made, and she knew exactly where she was going. The office was dark except for one light burning. On the 20th floor, Victoria's heels echoed, through the empty lobby, through the marble silence, up the elevator that carried her toward a choice she couldn't take back. Dominic stood at his window, a silhouette against the city lights. He didn't turn when she entered. You came back. You lied to me. Victoria's voice was raw. There is no sale. I checked the filings. The company isn't going anywhere. Dominic's shoulders tensed. No, it's not. You manipulated me, tested me, made me choose between keeping your fake secret and helping Cameron. Yes. And Cameron used me to get to you, made me feel seen so he could prove he was better than you. The job offer was fake. I know. Dominic finally turned, his face haggard in the dim light. I've known since the day he walked through those doors what he really wanted. He came here to destroy me, and he chose you as his weapon. Victoria's laugh was broken glass. So neither of you ever saw me at all. I was just a pawn in whatever sick game you're playing. That's not true, isn't it? She moved closer, anger and heartbreak warring in her chest. Tell me, Dominic, when did I stop being invisible? When you thought you might lose me? When Cameron paid attention first? Dominic crossed to his desk, pulled out a manila folder, and handed it to her. Inside were documents. Dozens of them. Performance reviews he had written but never filed. Recommendations for raises that were never approved. Notes about her ideas that had saved projects, solved crises, built his empire brick by brick. All dated. All signed. All spanning 4 years. I've seen you every single day, Dominic said quietly. Every moment. Every achievement. I documented it all because I knew one day I'd need proof that I wasn't imagining you, that you were real and brilliant and mine. Victoria's hands shook as she read her own history through his eyes. Why didn't you ever tell me? Because men like me don't deserve women like you. Because I was raised to believe that showing weakness is death. Because I loved you from the moment you corrected my mistake in your first week, and I was too afraid to let you see it. The folder slipped from her hands, paper scattering like snow. You loved me. I love you. Dominic's voice broke on the words. Present tense. Every cruel word was armor. Every dismissal was self-preservation. I pushed you away because pulling you close meant admitting I need someone, and I've spent my entire life proving I don't need anyone. Victoria's eyes burned. You're saying this now, after everything. I'm saying it because I'm about to lose you anyway, so I have nothing left to protect. He moved closer, stopping just short of touching her. Cameron was right about one thing. I am a fool, but not for the reason he thinks. What reason? I'm a fool because I wasted 4 years building walls when I should have been building a bridge to you. Because I measured my worth in money and power when the only thing that ever mattered was standing in front of me, invisible, because I refused to look. Victoria's breath came in short gasps. This isn't fair. Nothing about this is fair. But it's real. For the first time in my life, this is real. What do you want from me, Dominic? His eyes met hers, and she saw everything he had ever hidden laid bare. I want you to choose me anyway. Not because I deserve it. Not because it makes sense, but because somewhere under all the damage we've done to each other, you feel what I feel. And what do you feel? Dominic reached out slowly, giving her time to move away. She didn't. His hands framed her face like she was made of light. Terrified, he whispered. Completely, utterly terrified of you. Victoria's hands came up to his wrists, held on. You should be. I know. I could destroy you. I know. I want to destroy you for what you've put me through. I know. His forehead touched hers. Do it, burn it all down. Just don't leave. Victoria closed her eyes. Let herself feel the weight of him. The warmth. the terrible rightness of this moment. If I stay, everything changes. Everything. No more cruelty. No more games. No more hiding. I'll fail at that. I'll hurt you again because it's all I know. But I'll try. Every day I'll try. She pulled back enough to see his face. And Cameron? Already gone. I fired him an hour ago. For corporate espionage. Dominic's smile was sharp. He was using company resources to build a case against me. Turns out you weren't the only thing he was stealing. You could have exposed him earlier. I wanted you to see him clearly. To choose with open eyes. Victoria shook her head. That's still manipulation. Yes, it is. Dominic didn't flinch from the accusation. I'm not a good man, Victoria. I never will be, but I'll be yours if you let me. She should walk away. Should leave him standing in this empty office with his declarations and his damage. Should choose herself for once. But Victoria had spent 4 years being invisible, being safe, being small, and she was so tired of disappearing. I have conditions, she said. Hope flickered in his eyes. Name them. You make me partner. Full equity. My name on the door. Done. You let me fix this company's culture. No more fear. No more cruelty. Done. And you tell me every day that you see me. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Dominic's hands tightened on her face. Every single day. Victoria leaned in, her lips a breath from his. Then I choose you. I choose this. I choose the terrifying, complicated, morally questionable disaster that we are. Thank God, he breathed. And then he kissed her, and it was nothing like she imagined. It wasn't soft or sweet or romantic. It was desperate and fierce, and 4 years of longing compressed into a single point of contact. Victoria kissed him back with equal hunger, with all the rage and want and need she had buried so deep. Her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, demanding more. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dominic rested his forehead against hers. I don't know how to do this, he admitted. Neither. Do I? We're going to hurt each other. Probably. It's going to be messy and hard and nothing, like the fairy tales. Victoria smiled against his mouth. Good. I hate fairy tales. Stay with me. It wasn't a command. It was a plea. Not just tonight. Always. She looked into his eyes, saw the fear and the hope and the broken man trying to become whole. Always, she promised. And somewhere in the dark city below, in the space between the person she had been and the person she was becoming, Victoria Chen finally understood what it meant to be seen. But in the shadows of the office, neither of them noticed the security camera light blinking red, recording everything. And outside the building, Cameron Hayes sat in his car, phone in hand, watching footage that would ruin them both. His smile was cold. The video hit every major business news site by morning. Victoria watched her own image on the screen, kissing Dominic in his office, their voices captured perfectly through the surveillance system. The headlines were brutal. Ashford Enterprises, scandal billionaire CEO in inappropriate relationship with assistant power, imbalance or office romance. Ethics questions swirl around Dominic Ashford. Victoria's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Her apartment buzzer wouldn't stop buzzing. Reporters camped outside the building like wolves waiting for blood. Dominic sat across from her at her kitchen table, coffee growing cold between them. He looked older somehow, the weight of exposure pressing down on his shoulders. Say something, Victoria whispered. The board called an emergency meeting. They want my resignation. No. The company's stock dropped 15% in an hour. Investors are pulling out. Your name is being dragged through the mud alongside mine. Victoria stood, paced to the window. Below, camera flashes went off like small explosions. Cameron did this. Of course he did. Dominic's voice was flat. I fired him, ruined his reputation. He's making sure we both burn. What do we do? Dominic rose, moved behind her, his hands settling on her shoulders. I fix it. I step down. I make a statement that our relationship started after you were promoted to partner, that everything was consensual and professional. I take the fall alone. Victoria spun to face him. No, we're in this together. You're just starting your career. I won't let him destroy you because I was careless. Careless. Her laugh was sharp. Is that what last night was? Last night was the best mistake of my life. But it's still a mistake if it costs you everything. Victoria grabbed his face, forced him to look at her. Listen to me. I am not some fragile thing that needs protecting. I chose you with open eyes. I knew the risks. You didn't know he was recording us. Neither did you. Dominic pulled away, ran his hands through his hair. There's something else. The board isn't just asking for my resignation. They're threatening to sue you for breach of ethics, claiming you used your position to gain advantage. The room tilted. That's insane. It's calculated. They want you gone so the company can claim this was your manipulation, not mine. They're willing to sacrifice you to save the Ashford name. Victoria sank into a chair, the weight of it crushing her chest. So Cameron wins. He destroys us both and walks away clean. Unless we give them something else? She looked up. Dominic's eyes were calculating now, the shark returning to the surface. What are you thinking? Cameron broke into our security system. That's a federal crime. He also stole proprietary information, I have proof. If we turn over everything I have on him, he goes to prison. The story shifts from us to him. Victoria's stomach clenched. And we become the victims instead of the villains. Exactly. But we weren't victims, Dominic. We chose this, both of us. So what? His voice rose, frustrated. We tell the truth? That I've been in love with my assistant for 4 years while treating her like garbage? That sounds so much better. It's honest. Honest will destroy us. Strategic will save us. Victoria stood, moved to stand directly in front of him. I didn't choose you so we could become liars together. Then what did you choose? The truth, the mess, the complicated reality of 2 broken people trying to build something real. Dominic's jaw clenched. The truth means losing everything. Then we lose everything. She took his hands. But we lose it together, on our terms, not hiding behind manipulation and revenge. You're asking me to sacrifice my company, my reputation, everything I built. I'm asking you to choose me over your empire, the way you asked me to choose you over Cameron. The silence between them was deafening. Finally, Dominic pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. You're right. You're terrifyingly, impossibly right. So what do? He pulled back, looked at her with something like wonder. We tell the truth, all of it. We hold a press conference, admit everything, and let the chips fall where they may. You'll lose the company. I'll lose a company. There's a difference. His hand cupped her cheek. I spent 40 years building walls and empires because I thought that's what made me matter. But standing here, about to lose everything, the only thing I'm afraid of losing is you. Victoria's eyes filled. That's the first time you've said something that didn't sound like strategy. I'm out of strategies. I'm just a man who loves you and is tired of being afraid. The press conference was held at noon. Victoria stood beside Dominic in front of a wall of cameras and hungry journalists. Her hands were shaking, but his held them steady. Dominic spoke first, his voice clear and unapologetic. I want to address the footage that was released this morning. Yes, that was me. Yes, that was Victoria Chen. And yes, we're in a relationship. The room erupted with questions. He raised a hand. What you saw wasn't the beginning. It was 4 years in the making. I failed Victoria in every way an employer can fail an employee. I dismissed her contributions, took her for granted, and treated her with cruelty because I was too afraid to admit I cared about her. He turned to look at Victoria. His eyes only on her now. She made me better. She made this company better. Every success I've had in the past 4 years can be traced back to her brilliance. And instead of acknowledging that, I buried it under contempt, because that felt safer than vulnerability. Victoria stepped forward, her voice steady despite the terror coursing through her. I'm not a victim. I stayed because I chose to. I fell in love with a difficult man who challenged me and frustrated me and made me want to be better. What happened between us isn't appropriate by corporate standards, but it's real, and I'm done apologizing for it. The questions came like bullets, but they stood together, answering honestly, refusing to hide. When it was over, when they walked out of the building into the blinding flash of cameras, Dominic's phone rang. The board had voted. He was out. Victoria had been terminated for ethics violations. They stood on the sidewalk, jobless, exposed, infamous. And Dominic started laughing. Victoria stared at him like he'd lost his mind. What's funny? Everything. He pulled her close, kissed her forehead. Absolutely everything. For the first time in my life, I have nothing to protect. No image to maintain. No empire to defend. Just you. Just me, Victoria repeated softly. That's not much of a consolation prize. It's everything. He tilted her face up. I choose you. Over the company, over my reputation, over everything I thought mattered. I choose you. Victoria wrapped her arms around him, let herself be held in the middle of the chaos. So what now? She asked. Now? Dominic smiled against her hair. Now we build something new, together, as partners, as equals. That sounds terrifying. Good. The best things always are. 6 months later, Victoria stood in the lobby of Chen and Ashford Consulting. Her name, his name. Together on the glass doors, they had lost everything and built it back from nothing. Lost colleagues became their first clients. Lost reputation became renewed respect, earned through integrity instead of fear. It wasn't perfect. They still fought, still hurt each other with old patterns and new growing pains, still struggled with the balance between love and partnership. But every morning, Dominic told her he saw her, and every morning, she believed him. Dominic appeared behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. Admiring our work? Our work, Victoria repeated, leaning into him. I'm still getting used to that. Better get used to it fast. We have 3 new client meetings today. She turned in his arms, looked up at the man who had once made her invisible, and now couldn't look away. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For choosing the hard thing. For choosing me when it cost you everything. Dominic kissed her softly, a promise and a benediction. You are everything. It just took me too long to realize it. Outside, the city moved on, indifferent to their story. People rushed past, caught in their own dramas, their own invisible wars. But inside those glass doors, 2 people who had learned to see each other stood together. Broken and healing. Imperfect and trying. Visible at last. The end